Hey there, in this video we're going to be continuing the any percent route for the Minish Cap speedrun in the second dungeon, Cave of Flames. We're going to be covering all of the glitches that we do in here, specifically angle retention. So let's jump straight into that. So, where we left off last time is we were in this position here. Now I'm playing on a modded version of this, which is going to lock the camera directly over Link. It's going to make it really easy for me to demonstrate visually what is going on with this glitch that we're about to do here. So like if you see as I go up to this top right corner, the camera stays locked to Link and you're going to see some black stuff out of bounds. Because this glitch that we're going to do is going to involve going out of bounds and doing some movement out of bounds. So it's nice to be able to visualize it like this first. But anyway, so yeah, so the when we left off, the pillar was in this position here, and we just hit this switch here. And what we want to do is we want to push the pillar one position over to the left here, so that it's adjacent to this patch there. But normally you hit this switch, push it one over, and then come over to here. Now, what is this glitch that we're going to do? It's called angle retention, and it's called that because if you have a look at the top above here on the left-hand side, there is an angle value that I brought up from the data values in the game. Now, normally Link only has 4 possible facing angles. He's normally facing up, which is angle 0, facing to the right, which is 2, facing down, which is 4, and facing to the left, which is 6. And if you try and do diagonal movement, well, Link is going to be facing in a direction when he's doing that diagonal movement, but it's not going to like do a halfway between angle. He only has these 4 facing angles, no matter what you do, like using items and stuff. However, you can jump out of a hole and have an angle value that is not one of these values here. So if I go into a hole and I hold down right, I'm going to jump out and I'm going to have angle 3. I had angle 3 briefly there, but you saw I lost it almost immediately. Angle 3. If I keep holding down diagonal here, I'm going to keep angle 3. However, if I, for a single frame, only hold another direction, I'm going to change my angle to whatever that direction is. So facing to the right here is angle 2, facing down is angle 4, whichever I manage to release my... I was holding down last as I let go of the inputs is going to be what my angle is. However, there are certain items which maintain or retain your facing angle. Lots of items do this specifically the 2 items I have do this. The sword and the gust jar both do this. If I face in an angle, use and hold onto the sword, I can move in any direction, and it's locked in this angle, this facing down, whilst you're using the item here. Same thing with the gust jar, and same thing with the shield. And when we get to certain other items, it will we will also be able to do that. Other items include the bow, the cape. I believe that's it. No other ones do come to mind immediately as to being useful for angle retention. And also the boots to some extent as well will preserve your facing angle. But we are mostly just going to be using the sword. It's the easiest one, and it's going to be the fastest item to be using here. So what we want to do is, well, we can jump out of a hole in any direction. So we can go down right and we'll have angle 3. We can go up right and we'll have angle 1. We can go up left and we have angle 7. And we can go down right and we have angle 5. This one is notable. If we go down, go down left, sorry, angle 5 is notable because if you notice, Link's hair is facing the wrong way, and Link is slashing with his right hand here. And if you're not aware, Link is normally left-handed and swings the sword with his left hand. And if we do the spin attack here, the direction that Link spins and the direction the sword animation goes is opposite. And then, like, as soon as we press down normally, we're actually facing down normally. Link's hair switched around and he's swinging the sword the other way. So that's like a really weird, like just a kind of an Easter eggy bug thing that's not particularly useful. However, what is very useful is the fact that when you pull objects, the game doesn't pull the object in the direction that you are pressing the button. It pulls the object in the opposite direction to Link's facing angle. So if Link's facing to the right, when we grab the object, it's either going to push it to the right or push it to the opposite of the right. So we can do angle retention here to get a different facing angle here. Specifically, we're going to use down right to have a bottom right facing angle like this. You can either just tap down right to hop out of a hole like that and make sure that you release the buttons before Link's finished hopping out of the hole. Sometime during the hopping animation, if you let go of the buttons, you're going to have this angle here. You can then hold onto the sword, walk all the way over to the pillar, and then let go. If we grab the pillar, you may have noticed Link did a weird kind of like a jump upwards instead of like normally. Well, he normally grabs it like this, but then like he kind of went up slightly higher than normal. So yeah, you normally go out the hole. This is the easiest way of doing it. So you just hop diagonally down right out of the hole, let go of buttons, hold onto the sword, and then move over to here. Let go. You need to make sure that you let go of you let go of your direction. You're facing any direction buttons that you're pressing before you release the sword. I'm doing it really slowly here, so the sword fully charges. And normally when you jump out of this hole and do it like this, the sword's going to fully charge. You're going to release a spin attack and then grab the pillar. There's a slightly faster way of doing this, where as you're hopping, you hold down right out of this hole. You hold down right and you keep holding it, and you do a single roll, and then you let go of the directions during the roll. So it will look like this. So you go like this, roll, and then we do a roll. We let go of the directions, and then we start holding. Start holding whatever button you have the sword on to start charging the sword attack, your spin attack. Move over in front of the pillar, and then release the sword, and then grab it. If you do this fast enough, you can grab the pillar. You can get to in front of the pillar before you charge a spin attack. So it will look like this. So you go down right, roll, charge sword, get to here. I didn't get close enough. And then you get to this spot here, and then you grab the pillar. Now, from here, we want to count the number of pillar pulls that we do. But we're going to pull the pillar backwards like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pulls. So you saw, because we jumped out the hole diagonally down right, when we pulled the pillar gets pulled up left. And the game's really weird with how it checks the collision. It doesn't check the collision of where the pillar's going, it just checks the collision behind Link. And because there's no wall directly behind Link, Link's able to pull backwards, it will do the animation of the pillar. Yeah, so we pull the pillar out of bounds up to this position here. We're pulling it so that it's directly above the doorway here. And that tile that it's landed on there is very special. That tile is the loading transition tile between this room and the next room up. And moving the pillar over that tile has just destroyed that tile. So now, because we did that, there is no screen transition tile there, and instead it's just a freestanding walkable tile, which is incredibly useful. But normally you wouldn't be able to see exactly where the pillar it lands here. Because of the ROM that I'm using, we're able to visualize and see that the pillar is in that position there. But you wouldn't normally be able to see this. So you either pull Link to this side of this doorway here, so he's standing in front of this edge of this door, or you count 7 pulls. You come in, after that, we're going to come up to this pillar. We're going to grab the pillar. Well, actually, no, we can't. If you notice, when we come up to the pillar and try and grab it, we can't grab the pillar. Why can't we grab the pillar? It's because we're in this position here. We're underneath a doorway, and whilst you're underneath a doorway, these tiles prevent you from being able to do certain actions, like grabbing objects and using certain items. Like here, I'm pressing B, and it's not using the Gust Jar tool. You can't use certain other items as well, like the cape. But that's an important thing to note, is that when you're under a doorway like this, you can't do certain actions. That's going to be very important information that you'll want to remember later on in the run. There's certain other glitches that I'll remind you when we get to them that you can't do this, but this is just good information to keep to remember. But anyway, here, because we can't pull the pillar from this position, we have to push the pillar once to be able to interact with it. So we push it up once, and then once we pushed it up once, we press R to grab the pillar. And now we want to pull the pillar back into bounds. The chest that's located on the top of this pillar has a small key. And the small key is going to be really important for progressing in the dungeon. So we do want to grab the key that is in this chest. So we're going to pull it back into bounds. So we're going to pull it once down. And you notice there that when Link tried to pull the pillar, Link stopped before the doorway tiles, because he's not allowed to pull objects in underneath doorways. But then the pillar hit into Link and made him Link. What happened there was Link was inside the a wall momentarily, and if the game notices that Link is inside, gets pushed into a wall, it will try and put Link at the last valid tile that he was previously stood on, and the last tile that was a valid tile is the floor tile directly in front of this doorway here, because we had to stand on this tile to get into the doorway. So the game just like remembered here, so then it is gonna warp us back to this spot here. But anyway, we push this up once, we grab the pillar, we pull it down, Link gets clipped back into bounds, and we don't want to let go of R here. We want to keep R held down and keep pulling it down, and we're going to keep pulling the pillar down like this until it's in line with this this hole here. And when it gets to here, we'll be standing down here. We roll up and we push this over to the left, and we push it over onto the pillar into the hole, and then we grab the item that's in the chest, and this is a small key. Now we just did that to grab the small key. However, if we come up to this doorway, instead of going up through this doorway and loading into the next room, because this loading zone is just gone, we have like this huge out of bounds void here to be able to just like walk through. And if you notice here, I just screen transitioned into another room here. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I just managed to go into another room by touching a screen transition that was located out of bounds. So what we're going to do by exploiting this out of bounds area that we have, that of the this unloaded room, what we're effectively doing is we're going into the coordinates of this room, but nothing in this room is loaded. So this wall here isn't loaded, so we're going to be able to go past this wall up and go to a higher area of this room, and we will be able to go to a later part of the dungeon without having to ride the minecarts around, and not only avoid riding the minecarts around, but we're also going to be able to skip a locked door. And being able to skip a locked door means that we can skip a small key. And there is a small key slightly further on in this dungeon, which is really slow to get. So we're going to completely skip having to get that, and it saves quite a decent chunk of time here. But anyway, so let's recap all of this again. So we started here, we hit this switch here, we push this once to the left, we come over to this hole here, diagonal angle retention down right, roll sword, stand in front of the pillar, grab the pillar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the pillar is in the right position there. Also, note for what I was doing there, how I was pulling the pillar. I was pulling the pillar by rhythmically pressing and releasing the left button as Link's animation was changing. I'll demonstrate that again. So this thing is called pillar pumping, and it's a faster way of pulling objects. So if you grab an object and pull it, if you just hold the button, you notice that Link pulls the object a little bit, waits a little bit, and then ends up pulling it again. Whereas if you're pushing it, if you notice that pause in between the object stops moving and then starts moving again is much shorter. We can reduce the time on pulling the objects in between. We can reduce that time in between each step of the pull by resetting the animation. So what we're going to do is as we pull, we hold the button long enough to start pulling the pillar, like so, and then we release the button so that we let the animation continue to play until the pillar stops moving. And then when the pillar starts moving, has stopped moving, we then hold the button again and start the animation again. So that's an explanation of how this works. And so it will look like this. So we pull, let go, pull, let go, pull, let go, pull, let go, pull, let go. And you just get used to the timing of this, really. If you want a visual cue that you can keep your eye on to make sure that you're pressing the button at the right time, look at the R button. And you want, as you're pulling the object, there's going to be no text there. And as soon as there is text, as soon as the text appears there, that's the first opportunity you get to pull the thing. So pull, 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 pull. Like just looking at the grab option there. But when you're playing on the Japanese version, that is, you won't be able to read what that text is. But there will be text there. So it's text versus no text. Anyway, that's just an explanation on pillar pulling. So, right, we'll continue with the angle retention here. So we go down, right, roll, sword slash... wait, no, we put the... You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that this pillar is in the right spot. It's normally here. We hit the switch, we push it once over so that it's standing on this spot here. Roll over to here, angle retention. Pull, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let go. Push it up once, grab it, pull it down, keep pulling it down until we get in front of, in line with the hole. Push it into the hole. Open the chest. Right, now we are at this position here. What we're going to do is we're going to do some movement here, and the movement that you're going to do is going to have to be precise. However, it's going to be incredibly easy to do despite it being precise. What we're going to do is we're just going to hold upright from inside of this doorway. What it's going to do is when we do it, I'm just going to demonstrate it here. Link's going to walk diagonally upright in this direction until he hits a screen transition, and that's going to load him into this room here. And what is this room? This is the room that we exit out of the next minecart ride. Not what we would normally do from the previous room, is we'd ride the minecarts back to where we first rode the minecart. We would open a locked door and hit a switch to change the minecart tracks to come to this location. And then we would start continuing with the dungeon. So we would roll through here, and run past these guys, enter this room, come across this bridge here, and go up into this room here. The screen transitions are really buggy on this ROM because of how the camera works anyway. And then we would get to this spot here, and this is right before the mini-boss section of this dungeon. So that was the easiest way of how to do this, and if you're just learning for the first time, that's just how you do it. When you get to in front of that, when you get to you've done the angle retention, you've got the small key. When you're in that doorway, just hold upright and you'll get to that spot there, and then you'll be able to just do the movement that I demonstrated here to get to this spot here. However, I'm going to show some slightly more difficult movement. I'm gonna switch back over to the Japanese ROM now. So I was that's all of the visuals of like just showing off all of the stuff that we're doing out of bounds. So in the Japanese ROM, you wouldn't normally be able to see any of this. So I'm gonna go over to that to demonstrate what you would actually see in an actual run. So, where is my save state? It's here. And the ROM, the values here, I think we just want the angle value, and the layer value is going to be useful later. There we go. So, yeah, so in your... So this is what you would look like during practice or during runs. So we get to, we're here, we push this over once, we come over to this hole, angle retention, pull this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and as you notice we can't see where the pillar is, so we needed to make sure that we're looking at where Link is stood, and we stopped here, or we counted and then let go when we got to the end of the count. We're gonna go, we can't see what Link's doing here, but we're gonna walk up to push that pillar once. Then we grab the pillar and then start pulling it back into bounds. Pull it down into the against the hole. We push this over to the left. We open this chest. And then from this spot, we can just hold upright. And then the camera is going to look like this as we just move directly over to that spot here. And then we end up here. Now, I want to show slightly faster version of this, which is slightly more difficult. But after we grab the small key, if we come over to the doorway here, what we want to do is we want to make sure that Link's shadow, the bottom of Link's shadow there, is roughly in line with the pixels on the very bottom right corner of this this wall here. So there is roughly right. That's like exactly perfect. That's a little bit high there, but you want to be like roughly around about this spot here. It's rather lenient, to be honest. But from this spot here, the one thing that you want to that is going to be precise is going to be this roll. But effectively, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same as what we did before with the out of bounds movement, where we're holding upright the entire time. But we're going to be doing 4 rolls during this. The only roll that matters the timing is the first roll. The following 3 rolls you can do with any timing you want. It doesn't matter. But we'll here's the demonstration of this. So from here, we hold upright and roll 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Is that first one that was mattering the timing of, and then we should land exactly on this bridge. Now this is why this trick is rather tricky and precise, is that we need to land exactly on this bridge. If we land too high or too low, we end up soft locked and out of bounds, and there is no way out. I can demonstrate here by falling into the lava. You can end up falling into the lava here and you're just stuck permanently, and you have to save the game and do a soft reset and then start from the beginning of the dungeon and continue on. If failing this loses like 1.5 to 2 minutes, it's a real big run killer. So if you're worried at all about this trick, just do the holding upright strat to get into the room just before, because it's only about 8 to 10 seconds slower doing the extra movement and screen transitions instead of landing on this bridge. But people who are confident with doing specifically that first roll with the right timing can very reliably land on that bridge consistently. But yeah, we will. I'll show you what it looks like if you do the count on these rolls wrong. So if you're like 1, 2, 3, 4. So I rolled from completely the wrong spot there. and then when I do the screen transition, I was way too high, so I'm here, and then this here I'm soft locked. There's no way out of this spot here. So if you end up in this spot here, or maybe you miscounted what you didn't do enough rolls, or rolled too early and ended up below, like in the area below this. But anyway, these areas are soft locks, and you have to do a save and quit. And I'm not going to demonstrate how you continue the run from that point, but you can. You would effectively have to do the glitchless route for everything up to continuing into the downstairs section of this dungeon. Right, so let me just demonstrate this correctly again for the last time before we move on to the next part. So we hold up right here, roll, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to be faster, you can hold the diagonal direction from you can hold the diagonal direction from the chest until you get to the doorway, and then do your first roll when you hit the right spot in the doorway. Then you do 3 more rolls, and then you end up here. Now, you may have noticed what I did there with the pausing when the when we hit the screen transition. At the moment that you hit the screen transition, what you want to do is you want to mash the pause button so that you pause the game, and then you want to immediately unpause. What pausing and unpausing does is it snaps the camera to Link's position. Because we moved so far over out of bounds, the camera has been stationary for a long time, so Link's gone far away from the camera, so the camera moves very slowly to get over to where Link is. So snapping it directly over to Link is much faster, and doing the pause and unpause is faster than waiting for the camera to move over to Link. So that's why we do that there. There are going to be a few other locations in the run as well where we want to pause and unpause quickly to snap the camera to Link's position to save a little bit of time. And the very last thing for this as well is that when you do that pause buffer, when the camera pans over to Link, you want to make sure that you don't hold any directions at all. Because if you notice, I got hit by a keys when the camera snapped to Link's position. The recoil from hitting the keys in combination with pressing any direction buttons can make it that Link will initiate a jump into the lava straight away. Even though you're not holding that direction, you could just be holding right. And Link, because Link's facing up, but you're holding a direction, you got hit by a keys and are against the edge, you simply holding any direction tool will cause Link to just jump off the edge and into the lava. If you jump into, as I showed before, jumping into the lava is a soft lock, so then you would have to save and quit, and then lose a ton of time, or just reset your run again from the beginning. So yeah, those are the things that you have to look out for, is making sure that that first roll is well timed. If the first roll isn't well timed, you probably want to just notice that and be like, oh, I rolled from the wrong spot there. Go back and try and do it again, or if you're too worried, to just rely on the easy strat. And then the other thing to worry about is when you load into this room that you don't press any directions until Link stopped moving after getting recoiled by the keys. Or if he gets recoiled by the keys like in a down to the right or something, then you can just continue moving after that. Anyway, we continue over to this area of the dungeon. If you're really worried about health here, that you're going to die in the next room, you can throw this pot here for a heart. It's specifically this pot has one. The other two do not have hearts, but that one on the right hand side does have a heart. Right, so we can continue into this room here, and now we enter this room. This room is the mini boss fight for this dungeon. We have a setup for this fight to make it consistent. I'm just going to create a save state here just to make it easy for me to to be able to demonstrate this fight over and over again. But what we want to do is we want to enter this. We want to do this fight's going to be rather precise, but you're definitely going to want to have a save state here and practice this multiple times to be able to get it consistent, because getting this fight fast is a huge time save over the fight going out of control, because these enemies are really chaotic and hard to kill if you don't kill them with the quick kill method. But anyway, so we hop down the ledge here. You can hop down as low as you want, really. We're going to do one roll into the middle, and then we're going to face up and charge a sword slash, so like this. And then we're going to move to this spot over here. Specifically, we want to align Link's arm with roughly this spot here. Like Link wants to be stood, and if you notice that the hands that Link isn't holding the sword and the one that's on his right hand side, we want to line up his fist roughly with the point on the star pattern that's on the floor there. So like this. If you're unsure if you're in the right position at all, you want to, like, if you, normally horizontally is incredibly lenient, but vertically it's not very lenient at all. It's actually rather precise. If you're unsure where, like, if you are vertically alright, just to be safe, you want to tap down a couple of, just a little bit. But I'm in the right position here. What I want to do is keep the sword held until these guys land, and then I release the sword, and that's going to, and then this does us a sword spin that is going to kill these guys. And then after these guys have been killed, we're going to hold upright, walk up to this top guy here. We're going to do 2 sword slashes to kill him as soon as his spike animation ends. So we wait for his spike animation to end, and then we do 2 sword slashes. 1, 2 to kill him. And on with the first sword slash, you just slash once to damage him, but then the second sword slash is going to be you want to hold the A button during that sword slash to start charging another spin attack. And for this spin attack, we're going to go and stand on the top left corner of the floor pattern. If you notice in the corners of these floor patterns, there's a little swirl where you want to go and stand on that swirl in the top left corner, like so. And these guys are all the 4 remaining guys are going to start moving towards us as soon as the sword charges, or these guys start there we go. The sword charges and these guys start doing their jump animation at the same time. We start holding down right to move towards the middle. We want all of these guys to be starting their jump animation by the time we then release the spin attack. But we're roughly going to be in this spot here. We've just moved off the swirl and kind of hit the spike pattern in the middle. We release the spin attack here, and that's going to hit all of them ideally. Unfortunately, we timed it a little bit fast there and didn't kill this guy here. So we just need to do 2 slashes just to kill him. And then the chest appears. So that was just a slow-mo demonstration of how this fight goes, but I'll go and demonstrate this at full speed. So it was here. So we jump down, roll, charge a spin attack, release a spin attack, 2 slashes, stand here, down right, release a spin attack. This guy didn't die. If any of the guys have a the star pattern around them, they're stunned, but they're not going to die, so you do have to finish them off with 2 sword hits. And then the chest, because the chest spawns, we want to use the time whilst they're all dying from their death animations to go and stand in front of the chest before it spawns in. Because if the chest spawns in and we're at the top of the arena, we have to walk around the chest to be able to open it, because you can only open these chests from the bottom. Let me demonstrate how this fight looks if you're unsure if you got the right vertical height, so you wanted to stand a little bit lower. So we hop down, roll, stand a little bit lower here, kill this guy, kill that guy, and then do the spin attack. We were a little bit slow here, so that top right guy, we were a little bit too close to that top right guy, so he did a spike animation instead of doing, chasing after us and trying to do a jump animation. But you just need to recognize all of the guys, and this is a fight that also gets better with the more practice you get of it. So it does look really tricky and precise when you're first doing it, but give it enough practice and you will be able to get it nice and consistently, and be able to recognize when things go wrong and how to quickly react and improvise your movement to be able to do the fight fast. Despite it going wrong. But I can't go over every single situation of how it goes wrong, but that's mostly if you follow these steps, that's the best to be able to do this fight mostly fast. Yeah, you don't want to be doing anything silly in this fight, like using bombs to try and kill them, or using some kind of weird Gustra setup. None of that's useful. All you need is the spin attack, and that's all you need. Right, so after doing that, we get the cane as the dungeon item here. So after we get the cane, we mash through the text and then roll to the left and enter this room. In this room, we want to pause and equip the cane, or we could have done it right after picking up the cane. So if you, after that fight, if you are also worried about your health again, if you took a lot of hits and are low and are worried you might die before you get to the next boss, or if you're worried that you might die in the boss at all, you can grab some health here. There will be more health available in the dungeon, so you don't have to get this if you don't want to. And on the health I'm at now, I wouldn't ever get this health, but both these pots have hearts just in case you need them. But what we would normally do after doing that room, we come into here, we roll to the left, stand on that, use the cane to flip that rock over and then roll over to here. Now, thing to be aware of, that I was nice and high on these platforms when I rolled off of the platform and landed here. If you're high enough here, you're good, but if you're a little bit too low, there is an Eslo trigger in this room, and you'll hit that, and then you have to mash through the text. But we just want to avoid this Eslo trigger, so when you're going across these rocks, make sure that you go as high, you stand as on the upper half of these platforms to avoid the Eslo trigger. But yeah, we roll and end up here, and then we can roll up, open this chest, this doorway, and then go in. All of the rest of this section, there's no glitches or anything. We just want to do fast movements to get through this room. So we do 2 rolls to the right, we do 1 down and hold down right, until we get over the portal, and then we just hold down to jump up onto the portal. And as we're jumping onto the portal, we mash R to shrink as quickly as possible. Now, whilst an important thing to note is that when we are Minish, and we've just turned Minish at this spot here, if we press R too early, as because we want to go fast, we want to roll as quickly as possible, but if we press R whilst we're too near to this portal, we're going to regrow. So you want to be looking, as you're walking away from this portal, you want to be looking at the R button and wait for the text to change before you press R to roll. Because if you're too close to this portal as you try and roll, you're going to regrow, and it's going to waste a lot of time. So that's something you're going to have to be careful of. So text change, and then we start rolling through here. So these traps are normally, yeah, they're a right pain. You have to, normally there's a set pattern that appears. Every time we shrink here, they should sync up into the same pattern. No, they're not. It's actually different every single time. So it's actually from the moment that we enter this room, I believe, that their pattern gets reset. But yeah, so from the moment that we enter this room, and we try and go fast here. So 1, 2, 1 down, jump here, shrink. First roll. We're going to be in this pattern here. So that pattern that we get there, that cycle, what you want to do is, if you do that perfect movement as you get in through this room, and you stop just before these blades, you get to the blades and you stop briefly for just like a fraction of a second. Really, you just like release and stop for a quarter of a second or some roughly that. We're just making sure that the blade has just moved just past us, and then we can roll to the middle of the blade traps, where we then pause briefly again to let the blades move directly past us, and and then do 2 more rolls. But if you do perfect movement in these rooms, through that room, you'll get that pattern pretty much all of the time. That cycle of the blades when you get to there. So that's just a fast way of getting through without getting hit and losing health. But normally these guys aren't too much of an issue. Yeah, you just don't want to get like uber bullied by them and lose a ton of health as well. Right, so then we walk through this hole. We can't roll in the hole, but we can roll as soon as we get out. We roll roughly in this direction. I just mash roll as I go through here. As a Minish, you can just kind of just do whatever movement through there. I'm not going to go through the exact movement of like what's the optimal rolls through there. But we grow from this Minish portal here. We come up through here. We roll once in this spot here. We roll down here. Roll to the left here. Roll through this guy. Roll down. Roll right twice, and then a third time to roll through him. And we go up to here. And when we get to this rock here, I like to hold up right and then use the cane as soon as we're pointing at this this minecart here. So it will look like this. Like that. And then as we're waiting for the as the minecart's flipping, we're just standing below it and holding up so that we jump immediately into the minecart as soon as it's landed. But yeah, once we jump into it, we're gonna ride the minecart over to here. As we're riding the minecart, I hold down left because we want to walk and hit this switch. So we hold down left and then do a sword slash. So like that. During the sword slash, you hold up and then you hop into this minecart and ride down into this room. Right, so now this is the second room in the dungeon that we're going to do a glitch. We're going to do angle retention again. We're going to do it multiple times in this room, but we're going to do it to be able to break out of bounds, and not only out of bounds in this room, but the aim of the angle retention here is we're going to break into another room out of bounds on a different layer. Currently we're on layer 1, and we want to break up onto layer 2. So what we want to do when we first enter this room is we want to roll through this through the first rollerbyte, so that we are in the middle of all of the rollerbytes here. And during that roll, we want to hold up and then do a sword slash as soon as we finish the roll animation. We want to pick up and throw this rollerbyte into that to the top of this room. And we're going to pause and we're going to equip the gust jar over the cane and keep the sword. What we're going to do now is we're going to pick up this rollerbyte with the gust jar. We pick up the rollerbyte like so, and then we're going to walk up against this part of the wall that has there's a pillar like art on the how it looks on the face of this wall is there's like a pillar here, the wooden pillar here. So we're going to line up the rollerbyte with the gust jar against this wooden pillar. We're going to push up against the wall as far up as we can go. We're going to release the gust jar, and this is going to place the rollabite inside of the wall like that. After we've done that, we're going to come down to the lower part of this room. We're going to hit this rollabite. We're going to pick him up and throw him. We're going to try and throw him all the way into the end hole. We're doing like a Michael Jordan here, where we're going to try and like do a basketball shot all the way into the end hole. This throw is a little bit tricky because if you throw it from too far back, you won't get it into the end hole. You'll get it into the third hole along, and there will be a hole in the very end. So you're gonna have to go and grab another rollabite to go and do so. Also, if you throw too late, you'd end up not throwing at all, and you end up falling into this first hole. And if you fall into the first hole while holding onto the rollabite, you'll just drop the rollabite into the hole that you're in. And then you'll have to grab another rollabite and try and throw it into the end hole. But it's really important that we throw a rollabite into the end hole, and we have at least one of these holes not filled with a rollabite, which should always be the case if we put the first rollabite that we get into the wall. Before we do this next part, what we need to do is we need to look at where the other rollabites in this room are. The places that we don't want the rollabite to be is where we're stood at right now and diagonally up left from our spot here. So we don't want a rollabite here or anywhere near this line that Link just walked along there. So if the rollabites are on the right, the upper right end of this room, or they're at the very bottom of the room, that's nice and they're out of the way. But if there's any close to that line, that invisible line that we just drew there, that imaginary line, if there are any that are close to there or look like they're going to move, they can move in that direction and block us off like that, we need to hit them and then throw them out of the way. We're going to do an angle retention here, but we're going to do it the same way. We're going to do it down right and pull up left. And if we get hit at all as we're doing this angle retention, it's going to kill the angle retention, so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. But anyways, we're going to go into these holes, and when we get I like to just hold down right through all of these holes, but you only need to do this on the last hole. But on the last hole, you want to make sure that you're holding down right. And we don't need to do any sort of weird angle retentions. We don't need to do any sword strats like we did in the previous use of this, because if we just hold down right, you notice the angle still is showing angle 3, which is the diagonal angle that we want. But yeah, so when you're coming out of this hole, you just hold down right, and then when we get close enough to this pillar, you just grab it with R. Right, so from here, we want to pull this pillar 6 times to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if it happened to be that you were stood directly like it in the position that I'm in right now, I can't pull the pillar again. If I try pulling it again, it won't pull again. If you started pulling the pillar from this spot here, or if you were stood here when you hopped into these holes to do the angle retention, you would have warped and stood on this tile spot here. However, you can stand here and enter through this way. This is not the optimal way of doing it. You just need to be aware that when you start doing the angle retention, Link will start here, and when you pull up 6 times, he's going to end up like here, and he can pull it an extra time, a 7th time. You don't want to pull that 7th time. But if you just make sure that when you're going into this hole, you're coming in from this spot here instead of from this spot here, then that's not going to be an issue for you at all. But anyway, we pull the pillar up, and the pillar should stop in line with this minecart here. So we end up here, and the minecart's there. So after we've pulled it up and let go of it, we're going to hold down right and do a roll to end up here. We're going to hold up Unfortunately, these pillars have like a round like hitbox on them, so we do slide around it quite often, and it's quite a pain. But you have to be like directly in front of it to be able to then hold up and just push it. But we're going to push it all the way up against this wall. Now we're going to do another angle retention in the same direction, down right. With this one, I like to do a roll here, do a sword slash, move up to this spot here, and then let go of the sword before we charge a spin attack. If you take too long to do this setup, or if you want to do the setup a slightly easier way of hopping out this hole, charging the sword and coming up to here, if you have the spin attack and you release the spin attack in this spot here, you get recoil from that roller bite and get knocked away. You still have the angle retention here, so you can do another sword slash and go and stand here again and do it again, but it's slightly slower, so that's why I like to do this roll here, like this. Do a roll, sword slash, sometimes you can hit a roller bite there, but then you move to there and let go before you've charged the sword attack, the spin attack, and you've still got angle retention against this pillar. So then we grab this pillar, and then we pull once, and that's just to pull the pillar inside of the wall like this. Now, all of these steps was to get to this state here, where if we do angle retention, if you noticed when we grab the pillar with angle retention, Link always does this weird jump the moment that he grabs the pillar. He kind of like warps slightly. It's not too noticeable when you're when we're doing it down right, but it's far more noticeable when you do it in other facing directions. Up left is a notable one, but specifically here we want to do up right. We want to do up right out of this the angle retention up right here. I'm just going to move these guys out of the way because I'm taking a really long time in this room and these guys get in the way. But normally if you go through this room fast enough, they barely get in the way at all. But we want to do angle retention facing upright and grab this this pillar. And that's doing angle retention upright facing this pillar is going to put Link in the perfect spot here to hit the screen transition for the room above us, and we're going to end up in the next room. So let's just do that. So we hold upright, and holding upright we slide against this wall like so, and when we get in front of this pillar we want to tap R to grab it. You can tap R or you can hold R, it doesn't matter, but we grab it like that. As long as we hold upright the entire time, it's always going to put us here. If you notice, I took damage when I did that, and I've taken a lot of damage now, so I'm on low health. But if you're on a single quarter heart and will die from the next hit, you do want to make sure that you hit the rollerbite once so it curls up into a ball. If the rollerbite's curled up into a ball, it won't damage us. We just need the rollerbite in the wall there to give to act as like a just a solid object that will give Link an extra push, so that we hit the screen transition here, and we've transitioned up into this room. And then very importantly, we're on layer 2, so we're above the walls here, so we can walk over all of the walls. And being on layer 2 in this area of the dungeon is incredibly useful. So from here we can roll up a couple of times. Specifically when we get to here, we want to walk up as high as we can go. If you notice, there's an invisible wall here above this doorway here. Lots of doorways have these invisible collision blocks directly above them, but we want to go as high as possible. So if you notice, that's not high enough, that is high enough up here. Up here we want to go as high as possible and be stood in line with like this spot here. We want to screen transition into the room over to the right here. We want to make sure that we're as high as possible when we do the screen transition over here, so that when we walk to the right here, we can walk in line with this tiny little sliver of walkable terrain. If we're not high enough here, we're going to end up here, and when we try and walk to the right, it's not going to let us through. From this room, you do not, if you're in the spot here and notice, oh, I didn't walk high enough up, do not press up. If you press up here, you'll trigger the screen transition into the room directly above, and it will soft lock you from this position here. It's very important that you do not walk up from here. Instead, walk back over to the left, walk up so you stop moving against this wall, move back over to the right, and from this spot here, we can walk along this little sliver of walkable terrain. We want to do at least one roll here and do a screen transition up from anywhere between halfway along this room all the way up to the edge of the boss door here. Anywhere in this area is nice to land, to walk directly up. This is your safe zone. We kind of want to drop roughly in this spot here. So like from doing the screen transition, normally you do one roll, a little bit of a walk, and then hold up. And what that does is it lands us directly on this pot. And we've managed to skip a huge chunk of the second half of this dungeon, including the boss key, and we're in the pre-boss room at the moment. So now we can go and fight the boss, but before we fight the boss, it's very important that we get an item here. And what item do we need? We need a fairy in a bottle. So we chose to land directly on this pot here so that the fairy would appear. Because I just stood there, I immediately just grabbed the fairy. But I want to bottle the fairy here, so it's actually like when you come and land on this pot with that kind of position, you want to be holding right as you're falling down, so that as soon as you land on the pot and break it, you move out of the way before as the fairy's spawning, so that you don't pick up immediately. And then when you're out of the way, you can equip the bottle, swing to equip the fairy. I'll go through this again in full so that you can see it all in fast motion as well. But we grab that fairy in this bottle. If you did what I just did there and accidentally hit the fairy and consumed it without putting it into the bottle, there is a backup fairy over on the right hand side here. It is located in this pot here, so you need to throw one of the pots out of the way and that pot I threw always has a heart, but this pot here has the backup fairy that you can then bottle. If you're low on health and need to grab health, there's normally going to be health in the boss. So as long as you're not on like a quarter of a heart or half a heart, you can normally go into this boss. Even if you're on like exactly 1 heart, unless you're very scared, you can normally go into the boss, and then if you slash the fire during the boss fight, you'll pick up hearts. But if you need health, there's health in this pot. No, sorry, not that pot. Is this top left pot, not the pot directly above the fairy, but this top left pot here has a heart. That pot I just threw had a heart. This one has a heart, and I believe this one as well. Yeah, these bottom 2 hearts have pots have hearts. This top one doesn't, I believe. No, it doesn't. So it was just these 3 have a heart. This one has a fairy. The top one was junk, and the other ones didn't have hearts, but this top left one over here does have a heart. So you can grab 1 heart from here as well to be able to, just if you're slightly worried. But you shouldn't have to get more than 1 heart. Like, you bottle this fairy, come up here, grab this pot, throw it, grab the heart, and fall down into the boss. Like so. But anyway, I wanted to go through this whole section again in one go, just to show how it looks in full speed. So this is angle. This is the second. This whole section is known as the second angle retention in Cave of Flames. But anyway, let's go through it all in full speed. So we roll through here, slash these guys, equip the gust jar, grab him, throw it up here, use the gust jar on him. Put him against the wall like that. Gonna hit these guys out of the way. Gonna grab this guy, throw him into the hole. Angle retention down right. Pull it up 6 times, or until Link stops pulling, like there. Gonna push this up against the wall. another down right angle retention with the sword. Position here, pull it once into the wall. Hold up right angle retention, grab the pillar. And then we're going to roll past these keys to the top of this room, to the right. Move to the right, tap up here, land on the pot. Bottle the fairy before it moves into the walls there. If you're a little bit faster, that's better. We can grab this heart because we're low on health and then fall into the boss after equipping the cane. And then that's how that whole section should look. Right, so now we enter the second boss fight. This is Gleerok. This is a very simple boss. There's no tech that we do to make this boss fight faster, but there's a little, there's a slight little trick here that we can do at the beginning. It's not really a trick; it's just a little consistency strat to make this a little bit more consistent. But what I like to do is I like to hold upright as the the animation of the boss spawning starts, and I walk up to this spot here. I look at the edge of the lava, and for this little bit spiky bit of the lava, the edge of the lava and the ground, the little spiky section here, and I line link with this here, like so. And then I wait for, you then watch the back of Gleerok, and as soon as it stops glowing red, you want to fire the cane, like that. And that will always work, and you'll always hit its back. That first cane shot can just be a little bit inconsistent because of you've got such a narrow region to fire the cane that will hit hit its back without hitting its neck or just missing Gleerok entirely. That's kind of a little bit of a precise shot and can be a little bit hard to hit sometimes, and you can miss it a little sometimes, but yeah, that's just a little consistency strat I have just to make it a little bit more consistent. But yeah, when we get onto his back, we want to hit his back 8 times. I think I already hit it once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I did hit it 8 times. Now, the thing to note with this boss fight is after it retracts back into the lava, the ground's going to shake. If it only shakes a little bit, like now, yeah, it shook a little bit and then stopped. If it only shakes a little bit and stops, that's good. That means the cycle progressed and the lava's going to grow out nice and big. If we didn't hit its back enough times, the room continues to shake a lot. The lava doesn't grow, but Gleerok immediately comes back up. We failed that cycle, and we need to hit it, and we need to hit it enough times so that the total will be 8 hits. Before then we get to this. The lava growing like that is a transition to the next cycle. So now we're in the second cycle. We're going to stand like off to the side or whatever, and we're going to try and get behind Gleerok or to the side of him, and then hit him with the cane, and then we wait for his back to his neck to drop down, like so, and then we roll over the neck and stand on his back. Now, you can mash your sword to hit his back, but there's really no need to, because this boss just counts the number of hits that you do to him, so it doesn't matter if we hit him with a slash or if we hit him with literally the stab of holding the sword attack that we were going to do a spin attack. And also, even doing a spin attack at all, like all of those are going to do the same amount of damage to the boss, because it doesn't deal damage, it just counts hits. So yeah, spin attacks, slashes, stabs, all count the same. So we can do a combination of slash and stabs to hit them without having to mash, and we actually hit it perfectly as its iframes. The iframes of the boss, or the invulnerability frames, are the frames between you hitting the boss and then it waits a certain amount of time before the boss becomes vulnerable again to the next hit. We can hit it perfectly as soon as the invulnerability frames end if we're just holding the sword out as we hit it. So we hold the sword out. We do this rhythmic pattern here of slashing and holding the stab out like that. And then we just count 8 hits, and then as soon as the like we hit it 8 times and we can't hit it anymore, we roll off of the neck and exit back out. Now from this spot we can slash the this fire. These bits of fire can drop hearts like so. You normally get 1 heart. It's incredibly unlucky to not get a single heart. You normally get at least 1 heart. Quite common you can get 2. But yeah, that was progressing past the second cycle, and we're on to the third cycle now. Gonna hit his back again. What we're doing there is we're watching its back, and its back as it comes out of the lava is glowing red. As soon as it stops glowing red, it's then vulnerable. I actually delayed it a lot there in that cycle because I wanted its neck to rotate enough so that it's facing in a convenient location. If I fired the cane as soon as possible, he would be facing to the right, and I'm completely the opposite side of the arena, so it would be very difficult for me to roll around this room and get to him whilst its neck's dropping down. But we timed this nicely so that the neck drops down and we're right here ready to roll over the neck to get to its back whilst it's vulnerable. And this cycle is way more lenient. The third cycle is actually the easiest cycle. We only need to hit it 5 times. We have the same amount of time as in the previous cycles. 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is the boss over. This boss can get pretty tricky if you get hit by its fire attacks. Sometimes Gleerok can be incredibly mean and will like lock on fire his fireball directly at you, and then you get hit and set on fire. If you're on fire, the fastest way to get put out of being set on fire is to jump directly into the lava. If you like instantly just jump into the lava, that's the fastest way, and then you'll just respawn and not be on fire anymore. If you've just fired a cane shot at its back, you don't want to do that, because the time it takes for you to fall into the lava and then respawn, its neck's already dropped down, and you've lost so much time that you're not going to be able to get onto its back and hit it 8 times before it's before the amount of time that you have to hit it 8 times expires, and you didn't hit it enough times and you failed that cycle and you have to repeat the cycle. So that's the worst way of losing time on this boss, is getting set on fire just as you fired the cane to hit its back. That's the worst way to lose time. If that happens, you don't want to fall into lava, you want to mash direction buttons. If you mash your direction buttons, each direction that you hit slightly reduces the fire timer. So you can, like, if you mash super fast, like if you were doing a text mash or something like that, you can put out the fire in like, a second or 2. It can be very fast. I think the task can even get rid of fire in like less than a second. It's incredibly fast by doing that. But yeah, those are the things that you have to worry about, is getting set on fire as you're trying to do the cane shots. And also the other thing is as well, if you did the cane shot, its neck drops down, and you try and roll over the neck to get onto the middle section of it so that you can start dealing damage, but you miss the neck and you accidentally fall into the lava, that's pretty bad. That will normally result in you losing that cycle, and you won't be able to get 8 hits in, and you'll have to repeat the cycle. So that's unfortunate. But ideally you do this fight in 3 cycles, and it's not too tricky to be able to get it done in 3 cycles. But with Gleerok defeated, that is the fire element collected, and this dungeon completed. And that brings us to the end of this video. The last thing that we would do here is we grab the heart container here. If you're excessively bold, you could opt to skip this heart container. However, the next section of this game is going to be quite reliant on preserving the amount of health that you have. You can quite easily die if you're not keeping track of how much health you have. We do have a fairy as a backup. However, the fairy is going to be useful directly after this dungeon for people who do the advanced route of this. The intermediate and advanced routes will require the use of that fairy immediately, but people who are doing the beginner route, that fairy is effectively a backup up until through the next dungeon, and right before the 4th dungeon is when we actually need to use that fairy. But there are other opportunities to pick up the fairies before that, but you kind of just don't want to skip this heart piece out. But anyway, after collecting that heart piece, we hit the green warp, and we exit the dungeon, and we'll be greeted with an Eslo text box. And if you stay tuned for the next video, we are going to be covering everything up to the next dungeon, Fortress of Winds, and in that section we're going to be collecting the boots and the bow and entering that dungeon. But anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time.